So now what's going to happen is you're going to put this knowledge into practice. So the instructions here say apply what you have learned in this introduction to the page of your choice. Make sure you give the page number from the following short narratives found in Tales from La Vida. What are the effects on the target audience, and why do you think they made these artistic choices? So I'm just going to look at this first example with you. So we see here that we have a panel, right? So there's our first panel. And then you want to look at, okay, like what sorts of things do I notice in this panel? So one thing that stands out to me is we have this character right here. It almost seems like he's meant to be in the foreground. So maybe that means that he is our main character. So I'm just going to jot some notes first, and then after that we would go and answer the questions. Another thing that sticks out to me is we can see that all the text is in black, but then you go over here and it says I'm mixed, and that is in red. So we have the use of color red, and it seems like that is meant to put emphasis on the word mixed. So that probably would lead the reader to believe that, oh, this is something that's probably really important to this graphic novel, the idea of being mixed. So also make sure you read kind of what the characters are saying. So my mom is a first-generation immigrant from Guatemala. My dad is Caucasian and deaf. So then here's the main character. So that must be him. I'm not Latinx, I'm mixed. Okay. Then we go down to the next panel, panel number 2. And I'll give you guys a second to read what's going on in this panel. Okay, so this panel is really interesting to me, and I think I want to go back and review some of these terms, because you should notice like there are a lot of different things happening in this panel. So let's go back up here. So it has to do with narration, so showing and telling. Let's see, what else? And then I think you could also consider like everything's kind of in the mid-ground. So it clearly spans many different time periods. But you have them all coming together, kind of making up like the background of our main character right here. So I'm assuming, so we have him in a circle up here, we have him in this circle down here. I'm assuming that that's a younger version of the character in that first panel. So he's kind of, I think, in the foreground because he's in a circle again. And also you can notice the difference. This is important. So you have some speech bubbles. So you see the characters speaking to each other. But then these boxes where they're kind of yellow looking and just square, those aren't speech bubbles, those are narration. So that's helping the character to tell, or the author to tell the story. So those yellow boxes that are just square are different than the speech bubbles. Okay, then we go to our third panel down here. I'll give you a second to take a look. So again, we have this character in a bubble, kind of making him in the foreground. We have some narration in this box saying that Mom stopped teaching me Spanish. English became the dominant language in our household except when Mom's family was around. And then we also have these speech bubbles of the character speaking. And those seem to be like comments that he's had to make to people. And then again, you have kind of like different scenes colliding in one panel. So you have like the scene at school over here. You seem to have a scene at home over here. Whereas you have the mom over here and dad and mom over here. So you have the combination of multiple scenes in a panel, which is something that you should think about and reflect. Why might the author do that? All right, so this next one, there's a lot of action going on this one. And then you want to pay attention to the colors too. I think this is the panel with the most significant color differences. Because if you look at the people who are all over here behind our character, they all seem to be kind of muted. So not very bright. They're kind of dimmed. But then if you look over here, seems like all these characters who are engaging with this individual, like these are all brighter. So you want to think about the use of color and what does that mean? Okay, so I think that gives you some good examples of like what you're looking for and how you can annotate and take notes in a graphic novel. So what you need to do is you got to go back up and review these instructions. So you're going to have to pick your own, so a page of your choice. And then you have to make sure you are answering these questions. So what are their effects on the audience? And why do you think they made these choices? So for example, you would talk about like, what is the effect of having the main character in these circles in the foreground in each of the panels? So you have it here, here, here. And why do you think that the author made that choice? Same thing, you can also talk about what is the effect of having these multiple scenes in one panel? Does it show different elements from the character's life? Does it show conflicting moments? Why would the author choose to have that much action in one panel? And then you can also think about like going down here, why is the use of color important? So these people who are in the background, they're not very important because they're dim, but these guys seem to be more bright. So what is the effect of that? Okay. All right. Hopefully you learned something about graphic novels, and I hope that you're excited to read one and kind of apply what you have learned.